Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee with Crainer. This is an exciting episode. It's episode 150, and I have a special guest, the Honorable Stephen Lecce, Minister of Energy and Electrification. We're at AMO.
Yes.
How's it been so far?
It's been amazing. Let me just say, I've done a ton of interviews. This is the most special, being interviewed from a public servant himself. So, but I will say it's really good to be here because AMOs are all coming together as a community, and had like 35 meetings, tons of engagements. And I could use a coffee right now.
Yes.
Where's the coffee? This is what this is called.
Yeah.
This is called coffee
with Crainer.
And yet we don't have coffee.
We don't have
this
coffee.
Is a crime.
I
anyway,
know.
I'll get over it.
Yeah, well, I guess to start it off, and you're the 150th guest, and I can't let it slide. Where's your favorite place for coffee?
There is amazing Italian cafes in my community. I grew up with Italian heritage, and like I know in your community, you've got an Italian community as well. So I have a really cool place called St. Philip's, as well as a Cappuccino Bakery and Maple Bakery. I literally hit those places up. Like I put those kids in I paid the like the tuition for these kids. So a lot of money invested. And look, I just feel like the idea of coffee for me, like it's more than that. It's what I was raised with, of being around the table with your family and your friends and conversations and meeting people, and sort of speaks about some of that, bringing back some of that humanity back into our discourse. So
creates a conversation.
But I will bring you, if you ever come out to King Vaughan, I'd love to bring you to some of the finest coffees. I know it's not as good perhaps as
Downtown Espresso in Amherstburg.
I know, you got a
Which
beautiful.
you've been to.
I've been. I've seen that. Anthony Liardi actually was kind enough to bring me to one really cool place where I met Anthony's mother.
Yeah.
And spoke to her in my broken Italian. So it was a very humbling, cool experience.
Speaking of Italian, you obviously come from an Italian background.
Yes.
Can you share more about that? How did it shape who you are and the role that you're in now?
Yeah. Look, so many of us are children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. Maybe we are immigrants ourselves. With the exception of the indigenous people in Canada. I mean, most of us came from somewhere. And my parents traced their roots back to post-war Italy. It was a tough time, I think, for any immigrant who's come to the country. They came here facing adversity. Sometimes they're fleeing, persecution. Sometimes they're seeking economic opportunity. Sometimes it's security. Whatever it may be, they came to this country with a dream to build and to build a better life. And so my parents very much fulfilled that mantra. Mm-hmm. They came here because they wanted opportunity for themselves and for their children. So they came with the late 50s, early 60s on a boat to Pier 21 in Halifax, my dad through Ellis Island. And, the values of my family really live with me. The idea of staying close to my family and appreciating our freedoms and being proud of our country, that family faith flag. I mean, fundamentally, those are our values. And I was raised to embrace that. And also this idea of giving back, because I still believe this is the best country on earth. I cannot, there's no other place on earth where a poor immigrant could come to this country and their son or their daughter could rise to be the Minister of Energy Electrification. It's not a comment about me. It's a story about this country through hard work. And so I'm really proud of that. And I'm grateful to my parents for making the journey, my grandparents for their sacrifice and raising us to never forget our humble beginnings, but to be ambitious, to be patriotic, and to work hard. And I think the Italian community, like many other immigrant communities, have mastered that fundamental. Because I'm, as you know, and as Anthony will, attest every day in his life, it's about producing. It's about delivering for our families and our community.
And what inspired you to enter public service?
I don't come from a political family at all, so it's sort of unique when you get I get this question. People think, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but like, there is no tree. There is no political sort of anchor in this story. So I will say my parents encouraged me once I found this passion, but the idea of public service came at a young age when I felt like there are causes bigger than oneself. And I mean this at a very young age. I was like 12. And I came to believe that, the idea of service can be a very honorable career. And I loved watching political leaders who had courage. I mean, across the political spectrum, I just wanted I aspired to be like one of those leaders that had some courage to do what's right, even if it was not easy. And that really, that really was the wind in my sails to get me motivated. I had some people encourage me to volunteer for a campaign. It was 13. It was the 1999 election, and Al Palladini, a wonderful former MPP and now passed away, but an awesome man. I ended up volunteering for him, and I just got the bug. I really believed in what we were doing. I believed in the common sense agenda. I believed in young people making a difference, and I sort of thought, look, I can do this. And I thought any young person who, and I would say this today, very much today, any young person out there that wants to make a difference, wants to serve, wants to get elected. I mean, I need no look further than this man. I can say young man, which makes me old, but the young people in municipal levels, provincial and federal, that you can get elected. You can make a difference. You can rise into cabinet. I mean, look at what's happening around the world. So many young leaders are shaping up as prime ministers and presidents. So it gives me hope. And so for me, it was pursue your passion, give back to your country that gave us everything, and never stop believing in what the Maple Leaf represents as a symbol of democracy and human rights and freedom and the rule of law. And that for me is it's everything.
Did you see yourself here in the position you are right now?
Absolutely not. I could never have imagined I'd be the Minister of Education, let alone energy and electrification. But no, I never expected any of this. I mean, I was 31 when I was elected. I was appointed at 32. A lot of challenges and opportunities that arose along the way. But no, I couldn't have imagined I'd be appointed to cabinet. Certainly not a year into my mandate. But look, through hard work and through sort of a real fidelity to your principles as an individual, I do believe that young people can rise, and I don't think it should be based on, in fact, we should remove young people, that competent people should be able to be elevated, irrespective of their age, judge them on their merit and on their capacity. And the Premier, to his credit, I mean, he saw 31 as, I think, objectively a young guy, and he didn't see age. He saw ability, and that's, I think, frankly, it's a compliment. It speaks to his capacity as a leader to see the true potential in individuals. And I try to do the same now with young people as I meet them and sort of think like, how do we optimize this person's potential? How do we make sure that they're the best version of themselves? And so I took that approach in education, certainly will apply it in energy. But this has been amazing, and this has been crazy, but it's been a beautiful experience, and I'm proud of what we've done, and I want to just keep going, keep serving, keep making a difference.
What do you enjoy most about the job?
This may be a bit counterintuitive, but I enjoy most doing the difficult things. I find that it's easy in politics to go along to get along. I just feel like it's, so many politicians, respectfully, this is what they do because it's easier to not disrupt the boat. I don't find that as an act of courage. I believe fundamentally you pose the question, what do I enjoy the most? I enjoy taking on big issues. I enjoy deconstructing policies and coming up with a policy framework that actually is going to fix the problem. I don't see incrementalism as a strength. I believe in fix the problem, rip the Band-Aid, be that leader that people elected you to be, to have some chutzpah, some courage to deal with the issues. And so in education, I really leaned into this belief because I thought there's too many people out there that just don't want to make tough decisions. And that isn't leadership. And that's not why we're elected. And that's why perhaps a lot of politicians don't they have a bad rap because they don't have that ability to do what's right. And so I believe in that. And so what brings me the greatest sense of joy are the days I come home knowing I made an announcement that were difficult but necessary. And I always believe in that Winston Churchill, conviction of, where he essentially said, if you have no enemies, you've stood for nothing. It's like, stand up for yourself, stand up for your beliefs, stand up for your convictions. People will reward you. And I have people every day come up to me saying, I appreciate that you fought for what you believed, calmly, diplomatically, but vigorously and unapologetically. And I think that's an important lesson that I had to learn along the way, to sort of say, look, I'm here to fulfill a mandate I was campaigned on. And I'm here to stand up for what I believe.
Yes.
And I'm here to do what's right.
Yeah.
And so I believe political expediency will be the death of our democracy. We need to be thinking long term. We need to be thinking big picture. We have to be bold. And I think perhaps more than anything, we have to be determined to fix the problem and leave our community better, our country better than where we inherited it. And that's why I'd say the greatest currency one has is the currency to lead. And in Ontario, I think you see some big reforms happening. Like, look in your community at what's going on a new hospital, major transit expansion, significant investments in education, in schools. I mean, these things matter.
Yes.
And but it requires leadership to know where you want to go and how to bring people along.
Two final questions before I let you go, because I know
Sure.
you're a busy guy.
We're going to the airport right now. So.
Well, I want to make sure you don't miss your flight.
Thank you.
But for young people looking to enter the role of politics,
Right.
with social media and the environment that we're in, it can be very toxic. I experience it in my role. I would imagine you do in yours.
Yes.
How do you still keep that tunnel vision and that focus on your mandate and block out the noise, but also still look at the positive in your role? Because it can be tough sometimes. And I think if a young person is watching this and they might be standoffish about entering politics for that reason.
I think a lot of young people, they look at politics today and, they see some of that toxicity that exists, and it could be a turnoff. What I would say is that exists, it seems like, in all fields of human endeavor today. It's not just politics. It just seems like it's in the public discourse. It's in our society. So I'd argue, it's a problematic phenomena, but it's happening everywhere. So how do individuals who want to make a difference, who want to lead, how can they really decouple their existence from the noise on Twitter? I had social media. I looked at the social media, which many people say, don't do that. Don't look at it.
Yeah.
Don't look at this craziness. I did look at it because I was able to understand, first and foremost, that often, this is expression of the tyranny of the minority, that a small group of people can control. And why intellectually would you allow a small group of individuals to
influence your decision making
influence your decision making or even your mood? Like you're at home one night, you're looking on Twitter, you're looking on Instagram, you're looking at these comments, and it's like, why would you allow, even if I face it this way to a young person watching, would you allow 2 people out of 200 people, would those opinions monopolize your experience? Or would you not focus on the 98% who are saying you're doing a good job?
Yes.
Or the 90%, or the 80%, or the 75%, which is all statistically very sound. When you put it that way, you're sort of like, oh my God, you're crazy to care about the 2. But I know we're all human, and I cared about them too. I learned to focus on what matters, which is achieving the commitments and delivering on the promises I made. And I also came to appreciate to ignore the noise, because I had to be hyper obsessed and hyper focused on delivering on my mandate, because I had an ambitious mandate. I wasn't there for just
funny games.
I wasn't there just for a good time. I was there to shake things up, and we did.
Yes.
And so, if you want to get things done, I really do believe it's fundamental to your success, or to anyone's success, to my success, to focus on the agenda. And I would say to my team every day, on some of our toughest days, and we had some brutal days, all types of crazy things happen. The people of Ontario gave us a mandate. We're not going to let those sort of haters, if you will, bring us down. They're not going to dispirit us. They're not going to remove our fight or our focus. That's what they want us to do.
Yeah.
And so people, the overwhelming majority in our democracy, gave us a mandate to do those things. Get them done, and you'll be rewarded. And look, I applied that mantra, that belief, that principle, and I got elected in 2022 with a larger mandate than I did in 2018, which is honestly an incredible feat. I'm so proud of that. But I think the people in my community in King and Vaughan sort of said, look, he did what he set out to do.
Yeah.
And he did even more. And he delivered these big infrastructure projects for our community. And he represented us and he was present, and he was local, and he showed up. So I guess my key message is never lose sight of who we're here to represent, and always, always, always stay focused on what actually matters. And that's getting the work done. It's not appeasing everyone.
Yes.
It's just doing what's right, even if it's tough.
Last question for you. I'll make it super quick. Final piece of advice for a young person looking to be in your shoes one day.
I would say start early and get involved now. It may seem crazy because you come from a family that, you come from an immigrant family and you're not connected to politicians, and you come from a family that donated or knew politicians. That was my family.
Mm-hmm.
No connections. Parents were immigrants. I found this on my own and I pursued it and just all in, and I loved it. And so if you are even modestly interested in public service and running, and I'd say get involved, get that experience under your belt. I found that starting young gave me a competitive advantage at this age, because you may say, "Oh, this guy seems young," but when you've been at this for since I was 13, over half my life I've been in this political world, and that gives me an advantage. So that first mover's advantage is strong. Get in there early. The second principle is to be humble, and I started literally from the bottom, and I think as the Drake song, and now I'm here. It worked out well, but the point is that you too, through hard work, you can literally, I was the most junior volunteer in the campaign, and I volunteered for many public servants, many politicians, but I kept my head down, worked hard, stayed true to my values, and I demonstrated to those politicians that my values, those values that I spoke about, I think are fundamentally Canadian values, those Canadian values, those immigrant values, that they're shared conservative values, and that really resonated with me as a younger generational conservative. That these things align with me and they inspired me. But regardless of your party or your political inclinations, I'd say get involved. Our country needs the next generation now more than ever. We need young people who have solutions to some of the big problems of the country and the world. And I think our democracy is better off when it's more representative in that respect. So do it. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. And I would argue, just even if you don't want to be a minister or a mayor or the premier or prime minister, even if you just seek to go into business or nonprofit or whatever sector of the economy, any field of human endeavor, you have that network. It's going to add value to your life.
Absolutely.
So there's so many strengths of getting involved in politics, and perhaps the greatest one for me that I derive is the sense of fulfillment knowing that I've made a difference in my community and in our province. And that's, trust for me, and I know for you, it's very motivating. So I'd say to young people, do it. You should totally get involved. 2 case studies, different communities, different heritage, different generations.
Same great coffee.
Same great Italian coffee.
Awesome.
We both got elected, so you should do it.
Fantastic advice. Really appreciate your time, Minister Lecce. If you want to watch the whole episode, visit coffeewithcrainer.com. This is episode 150.